What if I told you that one rebellious act at a prestigious university shattered centuries of tradition and changed history forever? The year was 1809, a time when England still clung to the traditions of the Georgian era. The air was thick with the scent of old books and the murmurs of aristocratic whispers. The grandeur of Trinity College, one of Cambridge's most revered institutions, stood like a fortress of conformity. Inside its hallowed walls, students dressed in somber robes, their lives meticulously mapped out by tradition. But among them, one man stood apart. Lord Byron, a brilliant but tempestuous figure, had arrived at the college, his youthful defiance palpable in every step. His presence, both captivating and unsettling, stirred an undercurrent of tension in the otherwise predictable academic environment. Byron, with his unruly hair and sharp, burning eyes, had never been one to bow to authority. He was a poet whose words were as dangerous as his actions. He had come to Cambridge not for the sake of learning, but for the opportunity to challenge its outdated conventions. As he walked through the ancient stone halls, each footstep echoed with rebellion. The rules of the university, crafted centuries ago, weighed heavily on the shoulders of those who sought to join its ranks. But Byron, in his disdain for such rigid order, found himself drawn to one rule in particular, a curious and ridiculous prohibition: no dogs allowed on campus. The irony of it all struck Byron like a thunderbolt. Dogs, loyal creatures that they were, had been banned from the very grounds where young minds were supposedly cultivated. To Byron, this was the epitome of absurdity. A ridiculous, petty rule meant to stifle the freedom of students. The fire of defiance burned even brighter within him. But rather than simply defy the rule, Byron would find a way to turn it on its head. He scoured the rulebook with meticulous care, seeking the faintest loophole, the smallest crack through which he could slip unnoticed. And there it was, glaring and beautiful. The rule never mentioned bears. A wicked grin spread across Byron's face as he read the words again. No mention of bears. The thought of it was so simple, so deviously clever, that it felt like fate itself had conspired to offer him this one perfect moment of revenge. He wasted no time. Byron made arrangements with a traveling menagerie, securing a tame bear. The creature was large and imposing, its fur a deep, glossy black. Its eyes glistened with a strange intelligence, as though it knew it was about to become part of a most bizarre tale. Byron, in his youthful exuberance, saw this not as an absurd act, but as a triumph of individualism over the stifling institution. The day Byron brought the bear to Trinity College was nothing short of a spectacle. Students gawked in disbelief as Byron, with an air of triumph, led the enormous beast through the gates of the university. The bear, calm and docile, followed its new master with a strange dignity. The university staff, upon witnessing this bizarre act, were thrown into confusion. How could they challenge such an obvious violation of common sense when the very rules they had so carefully crafted had left such a glaring loophole? The bear's presence on campus was both a symbol of Byron's genius and a mockery of the institution's inability to adapt. The campus buzzed with whispers. Byron, ever the enigma, strolled through the cobbled paths, his faithful bear by his side. The bear, seemingly unbothered by the spectacle it caused, stood as a silent companion, a living embodiment of Byron's rebellion. The air was thick with uncertainty and scandal, as students who had once been so absorbed in their books now found themselves distracted by the creature roaming the ancient halls. The whispers turned into rumors, and soon, the story of the poet with the bear became the talk of the entire college. What was Byron's next move? Was this madness? Or was he simply exposing the absurdity of a rigid world that had no place for free thought? Byron's actions did not go unnoticed by the university's authorities. The heads of Trinity College, staunch defenders of tradition, convened in their austere chambers. The air in the room was thick with the smell of aged paper and the sharp tang of ink. They had received reports of the bear's presence and were now tasked with finding a way to remove it from the campus. Yet, they were trapped in a web of their own making. The rules they had written with such care had not accounted for the presence of such an animal. They debated fiercely, their voices rising in frustration, but there was nothing they could do. Byron had outwitted them, and there was no legal recourse for what he had done. The absurdity of the situation was not lost on Byron. He found himself in the midst of a bizarre standoff between his youthful ingenuity and the suffocating traditions of the college. With a wicked twinkle in his eye, Byron had a suggestion. He proposed, with all seriousness, that the bear should be granted the same privileges as the students of Trinity College. Why not, he asked, allow the bear to apply for a fellowship? After all, it was a creature of fine pedigree, having been purchased from a reputable menagerie. Byron's suggestion was laced with irony, but it was delivered with such conviction that it was impossible to ignore. The authorities, already struggling to deal with the absurdity of the situation, were left stammering, unable to respond. Byron's malicious compliance had become a symbol of defiance, a masterstroke of satire. The bear, now an unwilling celebrity, became the talk of Cambridge. Students and professors alike could not help but be drawn into the spectacle. The once formidable walls of tradition had been pierced by the sharp, mocking genius of Byron's rebellion. The university, helpless in the face of this absurdity, began to crack. The rigid codes of conduct that had long governed the students of Trinity College now seemed laughable. The old men in their chambers, once so proud of their rules, were reduced to a pitiful state, their authority slipping through their fingers like sand. The bear, once a simple animal, had now become the symbol of a new era. But as the days passed, something strange began to happen. The bear, which had once been a symbol of chaos and rebellion, began to symbolize something deeper, something darker. Byron, ever the observer, noticed the shift. The students, once amused by the absurdity of the situation, began to feel an eerie sense of discomfort. The bear's quiet presence, once a source of laughter, now seemed to cast a shadow over the college. Its dark eyes, unblinking and solemn, seemed to peer into the hearts of those who dared to look too long. Was the bear, in all its unspoken power, a reminder of the ever-present consequences of defying the system? Was it a symbol of the price one pays when they challenged the very foundations of an institution? As weeks wore on, the tale of Byron and his bear became more than just a campus scandal. It was a story of revolution. The very air of Trinity College seemed to pulse with tension, the quiet hum of defiance growing ever louder. Byron's bear, once a curious novelty, had become a living metaphor for the storm that brewed just beneath the surface. The students, emboldened by Byron's boldness, began to question the very fabric of their society. What had once been a fortress of tradition was now crumbling, piece by piece, as the younger generation started to challenge long-held beliefs. Byron, ever the provocateur, watched with quiet satisfaction as his act of defiance rippled through the college. The old walls had been shaken, and there was no telling what might come next. The bear's presence in the college, though once a source of humor and amusement, was now an eerie fixture in the minds of the professors. The heads of Trinity College, now fully aware of the implications of Byron's actions, sought to contain the situation. They were a proud institution, steeped in centuries of academic tradition, and they could not allow a mere student, however brilliant, to undermine their authority. The university officials began to pressure Byron to remove the bear, but the young poet refused to comply. His rebellious streak had hardened into something much more than a childish prank. He had become a symbol of everything that the old guard feared, a living embodiment of the new world that was coming for their world of rigid rules and academic pretension. The university's administration, now growing increasingly desperate, resorted to more extreme measures. They sought legal avenues, hoping to force Byron to surrender the bear. But once again, they were thwarted by their own outdated regulations. They had underestimated Byron's cunning, his ability to manipulate their rigid system to his advantage. As the weeks turned into months, Byron continued his academic life with his bear by his side. The authorities, bound by their own rules and their inability to adapt, could only watch as the poet and his beast became the very symbol of the changing times. The young romantic had done what many had thought impossible. He had defied not just the rules of the university, but the very essence of tradition itself. But as the years passed, the once mighty bear and its infamous owner faded into the shadows of Cambridge's storied history. The college, though shaken by Byron's audacity, slowly regained its composure. Yet, the echoes of his rebellion remained. The legend of Byron and his bear lived on in hushed conversations, passed down from one generation of students to the next. It became a cautionary tale of how a single act of defiance could unravel the very fabric of tradition. The university, despite its best efforts, had been forever changed. The old order had been challenged, and though the bear was gone, its legacy endured. Byron's act of malicious compliance was a spark that ignited something far greater, an age of questioning, of rebellion, and of self-determination that would carry the romantic spirit into the future. In the quiet, candlelit corners of Trinity College, a new generation of students now walked the same paths Byron once tread. The air was different now, lighter perhaps, but no less charged with the restless energy that Byron had once embodied. The bear, long gone, still haunted the hallways of the old college. Its presence, though no longer physical, had left an indelible mark on the very soul of the institution. Lord Byron had become a myth, a figure whose defiance had rewritten the rules. And as the years passed, the legend of the poet and his bear would continue to grow, ever larger, ever more enigmatic, until it reached the ears of those who had never walked those cobbled streets. And so, the story of Lord Byron and his bear would endure, forever a part of Cambridge's mysterious history.